FYF Sports. And we're back. Steph again. Another reaction, man.
Man, this one gonna be crazy.
Hey, man, these guys, man, that we be debating, they just be coming. I think they just come up with some of the craziest basketball theories that they could think of, and then they just put it out there. You know.
So sometimes I feel like we shouldn't even be debating, bro, because it don't even make no sense.
No. So we got 2RAW4TV, aspiring YouTuber again. He's definitely done a good job of growing his channel, man. He puts a lot of content out there, and he actually puts some good content out there from time to time. But today he put out a video titled "Reasons Why I Rank Wilt Chamberlain Over LeBron James." So I was just kind of curious as to
what was he drinking.
Yeah, because I mean, Wilt was a great player, but right. I don't know if he was as great as LeBron.
Just how they talk about him. I mean, you can say that he's just as dominant or whatnot, but we have no video to even back that up. You know what I'm saying? We have some, but not. You know what I'm saying? Not as much as LeBron has to compare both of the two. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's footage out there, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's some, but it's not as much.
And people saw both of them play, but I just think Wilt's dominance was more so due in part to the era that he played in. A player his size and again skill was just kind of unheard of at that time.
But you said people seen him play, like, ain't most of them probably dead?
No, it's video out there. I mean, this video of Wilt Chamberlain, and obviously we have his numbers. We got the facts on him. Okay. But now when we're comparing the two players, obviously Wilt is going to have the numbers over him. But as far as just sheer greatness and over a long period of time, I don't know if Wilt's going to surpass him there. So, well, again, we're gonna hear what 2RAW has to say about it, man. Hopefully he doesn't say nothing too far off the wall. But you never know with 2RAW. He got some crazy opinions on some stuff.
We haven't even really had a conversation about LeBron versus some of these other top 5 guys or top 10 guys. Okay? I don't understand how LeBron James just automatically jumps everybody else. Like I said before, and anybody that's old enough to remember it, who's, not just fresh out of high school, the big debate in sports 10 years ago was Kobe versus Mike. So I don't understand how Kobe went from being a GOAT candidate to now all of a sudden it's being preposterous if he's in your top 10 or, top 5. Like, it's ridiculous. But I think a better conversation other than...
So is he... Am I agreeing with them? Because I'm not hearing what he said. Like, is he saying, like, it's a shame how people's leaving Kobe out of the top 10 conversations and stuff like that?
He's saying that over the last couple of years, people have kind of pushed Kobe out of the top 10. I wouldn't even say top 10 because most people have Kobe in their top 10. So to say he's not in most people's top 10, I don't think that's true. I mean,
you got a lot of people that's man, pisses me off all the time. So I'm with you right here. Talk your shit, bro.
LeBron versus Bird is LeBron versus Wilt because there are a lot of similarities to both of these guys. They're both physical beasts, this physical specimens. LeBron, 6'8", came in to the league at 240. He's probably right now walking around because he's not playing. He's walking around probably 280, 285. We've never seen a guy at his position.
This is. Hey, so this is what I mean by listen. This is what I mean by this guy doesn't understand the NBA today because, like I told them time and time again, I said I feel like players of this era are more skilled because they work out and they stay in shape all year round.
All year, especially LeBron.
You will have a handful of players who will get out of shape, but those are usually the players who find themselves out of the league real fast.
And we speaking about LeBron.
No,
he's probably working out right now.
No, LeBron spends $2 million on his body a year. There's no he doesn't have those.
Yeah, so what are you talking about? 285.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So And then you put that narrative out there that he's probably walking around in 280. I don't think that's not his walking around weight.
Not at all, bro.
All right, because he works out. And especially at his age, if he ever let himself get to 280, do you know how hard it would be for him to get back in shape?
Fact.
So again,
at his age too,
yeah,
man,
that's
the reason why he work out.
That's why he has to stay in shape all year round. So,
he knows that.
Let's hear what else he got to say.
Small forward position, quite the way he is. Now, Anthony Mason, of course, was 6'8" and 260, 270 pounds. Built different. But Mason didn't have the physical gifts that LeBron has with strength and speed, at least for his size. And LeBron has superior all-around skills compared to Anthony Mason. That never can be questioned. Look, Wilt Chamberlain, considered by most, including this channel, to be the most dominant center and the most dominant player in the history of the NBA.
You believe that?
Cap. All cap.
Who's the most dominant center in NBA history?
Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq was the most dominant force.
Dominant force, bro? Shaq.
Yeah, that's widely known. Shaq was the most dominant force. Again, and it was because not just Shaq literally changed the rules of the game.
That's a fact.
And I feel like that's one thing I consider when you talk about most of the greats. The greats usually did something to affect the game. Like when you talk about Steph Curry's always going to be considered one of the greats because he changed the way the NBA is played.
But Reggie, he changed
who?
that. Reggie. The kicking out of the foot.
No, I mean, he started that.
He
started that, but again, when you look at Shaq was so dominant, he made them make rule changes.
Right, facts. That's
because he was too dominant down there. So again, when you look at players like that, these are players. Michael Jordan. These players they created rule changes in the NBA because of their dominance. Yeah. Wilt's dominance was. I'm not I'm not trying to knock Wilt, but I think Wilt's dominance had more so to do with the lack of talent in his era, as opposed to him just being that's great force. He was a great player in a league where people would go home and go to the auto mechanic shop to work their second job. They didn't have time to practice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So you got guys in the league today, and even in the 90s, they going home, they hitting the gym, they hitting the weights, they finding ways to make their bodies and their game better. So it's just a different league. I just don't see how you can compare.
I don't think you can compare, bro.
I don't think it's a comparison at all.
The strongest man ever to play in the NBA. He was stronger than Shaquille O'Neal. He was stronger than.
Oh, god damn, bro! Come on, bro. What? Who is this nigga, bro?
I don't know, man. This man said Wilt Chamberlain was stronger than Shaquille O'Neal, man.
Oh my god. I'm gonna take a sip, bro.
Wow, man. Oh, man. I don't know if Wilt even.
You are capping, bro. Oh my god.
Stronger than Ben Wallace. Wilt Chamberlain at his prime could bench press at least 507.
Google this right now.
Oh my god.
Google this. Because again, hold on. Google this right now because he's saying do you know how heavy 570 pounds is?
Bro, he tweaking, bro.
These niggas in the Olympics ain't even bench pressing 5.
How do he know this? That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. We about to pull it up. We about to pull up the facts. He just said, man said Wilt Chamberlain can bench press 575 pounds. Now I'm looking at this picture of Wilt Chamberlain right here, and he looks slight.
Yes, LeBron looks bigger than him.
You know what's in NFL?
Just look at his shoulder right there, bro.
Hold on. We just gonna.
We're gonna pull that up, boy. Get them car.
Wilt Chamberlain. Bench press. Okay.
What you got for us?
It says Shaq could only bench about 450, probably less. It says when Wilt was 59 years old, he was still able to bench press 65 pounds. Damn, this motherfucker probably could. Hold on. It says, many don't know, but Wilt used to lift weights with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, he might have been strong as fuck.
Okay. All right.
Damn.
I'm taking back the nerve.
Hold on. Let's see.
Still no real facts, though.
I just don't see it.
I don't see that shit either, bro. We gotta see that. We gotta see facts. Because I can also put some on Google saying.
See, but here's a fact right here. So this guy who did research on this, there's a guy. He says Wilt cannot bench press 500 pounds. He says that's physically impossible. He said that's a physical impossibility for a man with arms as long as he is. Because again, that's one thing, and I lift too. I know that. That's why you see a lot of shorter guys who are really strong. They can bench press more because again, their arms don't have to extend up as much. So for Wilt to get 500 pounds up, or he said over 500 pounds. But what I'm saying is for him to even get that weight up, it's extremely hard for someone that long.
Yeah, gotta be on something.
That's why it doesn't surprise me that Shaq only got up to 450 pounds because for somebody that big and strong, you got to think their arms that long. They're not repping that out. They're not. It's hard.
He might have worked out well on the Schwarzenegger, bro, but I'm not seeing that, dog. I am not seeing that. 500 pounds, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they say there's people who said he was out there bench pressing 500 pounds, but the factual reports are saying that all of this is unverified.
Right.
So it's never been caught on video.
Right.
And again, all of this is just rumors. So again, just like y'all say, people can put anything they want on the internet.
Anything, bro.
I have a hard time believing that this man could bench press over 500 pounds. Right. And again, I think it's just a lot of cap to try to boost him up. But again, strength alone don't really mean nothing. We talking about basketball. So, I mean, we're going to, hey, 2RAW, we're going to say for now that you right on this one.
I ain't. You capping, bro.
Yeah, I think it's capped too.
75 pounds. And this is a guy that was documented at age 59 when he was suffering from heart problems to still be able to bench press 465 pounds. That's what Ben Wallace could bench press at his physical prime. Wilt was doing that when he only had 4 years left to live in his life, suffering from heart disease. This guy was phenomenal. He was not just a phenomenal basketball, but a phenomenal athlete. Wilt Chamberlain was also a phenomenal volleyball player. This guy ran tracks.
I've heard that.
This guy threw, he was a phenomenal shot putter. He used to throw the shot put 50, 60 plus feet. He was an athlete. He could run, even though he was 7 feet tall, he could run a 400 in near record time. This guy was a freak of nature. So there should be more comparisons between these guys. They both were statistical, phenomena. This beast dominate all over the record books. When LeBron James is said and done,
it would if it was true.
Because of his longevity, he's going to be all over the record books when everything's said and done.
That's a fact.
Much like Wilt Chamberlain, just to a small second most. Just because of his longevity and his, the long period of time he's been able to play at this level, he's going to be everywhere. He's going to be the only guy with 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 10,000 assists when everything's said and done. He's going to be the only guy at that club. All right? Just like Wilt's the only guy with 30,000 points and 20,000 rebounds. They both were unique players with unique skill sets. All right? They both have been heavily criticized, more or less, for having some holes in their games or sometimes coming up short in certain situations. The only hole Wilt Chamberlain had was he was not a great foul shooter. Now, interestingly enough, in practice, his teammates could confirm this. In practice, Wilt was a tremendous foul shooter. Wilt Chamberlain, in an interview with Bob Costas, apparently it was true because Calvin Murphy never denied it. Wilt Chamberlain supposedly beat Calvin Murphy 2 times in a row in a free throw shooting contest. And if you know about Calvin Murphy's one of the greatest foul shooters in the history of the NBA. Led the NBA in free throw.
Bro, what the fuck does this have to do with the LeBron and him comparison? You comparing him to other players.
This man said Calvin Murphy, man.
You should have just made it strictly on Wilt Chamberlain.
But see, no, what they do is, this is where the finesse comes in.
Okay.
You know, like I'll put it to you like this. I could probably right now do around the world 3-point shooting contest against Ben Simmons. You too, and probably beat him.
Right.
Does that mean we better players than Ben Simmons?
Not at all.
You see what I'm saying? So again, and then even at the same time, he's talking about a shooting contest with this Calvin Murphy guy, and I always tell people that shooting free throws in practice gym and shooting them in a game is 2 different things.
That is a fact.
Because there's video of Shaq in practicing free throws making 90, 101, 105 in a row.
I could definitely.
He got in the game and struggled. But why is that? So it's a different type of pressure in game.
Bro, I don't know what it is.
Right? And again, that's what I'm saying. It's what you do on the court. I don't care what you could have done or what you did in practice.
Yeah.
I don't care if he beat Steve Nash or Steph Curry in a free throw shooting contest. If you can't do it in the game, don't mean nothing, man. It don't count.
Nigga talking practice, bro.
Yeah,
practice.
It's
about practice free throw.
It just sounds like, again, I mean, like I say, it just sounds like you. Again, I really want to hear what he has to say with direct comparisons between the two in their game.
Yeah.
And in their eras. Let's see what he got.
Dominance, I definitely understand, but everything else.
Percentage one year at 95.8%, which was a record for many, many seasons. A career 89% foul shooter. Yet Wilt Chamberlain says he beat him in a free throw contest twice. But he said that when it came to in-game shooting, he was a head case. He could not make foul shots when he was playing.
Okay.
He only shot 51% from the foul line for his career.
Ain't doing it in the game, it don't matter.
Right.
I don't want to.
LeBron is not nearly as bad for shooting free throws. He's about 73, 74% for his career. But he has been trending downward. LeBron, when he first came in the league, had a couple of years shooting close to 80%. But in latter years, he's been shooting closer to 70 and some years in the upper 60s. So his overall percentage from the foul line has shot down. But if you watch LeBron James for his career, if you watch him in the fourth quarters of games, that percentage has to be like 10 points lower. It has to be closer to 60% because I've seen him miss countless critical foul shots in fourth quarters or in crunch time. And sometimes he gets criticized for passing too much or being too passive in certain situations, as was the case with Wilt Chamberlain. Both have been criticized as being sometimes too concerned about their stats. Now, LeBron fans will swear it's not true, but if you watch LeBron sometimes during games, he will, at the end of games, sometimes pad his assist numbers or pad his rebounding numbers via defensive boards if he notices that he's a little bit low on one of the categories. I mean, I'm not knocking him, but you can see he does it. He's not the only one to do it. Okay, he's not, but he does do it.
I don't see
Wilt Chamberlain has been noted by many to pad his numbers.
Yeah,
I've seen LeBron do that. There's been a lot of games where, especially during the season where the Warriors were blowing teams out, and they would sit all their starters in like the third quarter. Yeah, that was a real season where it showed because they would get their players extra rest. So they would find their players extra rest whenever they could, and they would let their bench players get more playing time in, more game experience in that fourth quarter, finishing games. As opposed to LeBron, there's a lot of games where they would be up big in the fourth or even down big in the fourth, but I would still see LeBron in the game. And I'm just thinking,
I definitely understand that, but it it's not as vivid as Russell Westbrook.
No. You know, what I'm saying is, I see LeBron in game situations
where he shouldn't be.
Yeah,
no, because a lot of players do that.
Because Derrick Rose was doing that. Like when he got hurt in the playoffs, when he hurt his knee the first time.
Bro, that's not his fault.
But it's not his fault. But what I'm saying is, it was a point in time in the game, and that's where the NBA really started looking at. Let's start pulling these players early. Yeah. Because when Derrick Rose, MVP of the league, tore his ACL in a playoff game that was already under control.
It was already won.
That's what I'm saying. Now, it hasn't happened to LeBron anything, but that's when resting players and getting them that additional rest, getting them out of these meaningless games really meant something. So we know LeBron has a factor. And I know I've seen him in multiple games in late when they're up big or down big. Just in when he's not supposed to, and he's still forcing the action, still trying to pad his stats.
But take it like people, they do think about people are coming to see me play. You know what I'm saying? They're paying to see me play, whether we're blowing the team out or not. So, I mean, double that sword, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You gotta. I mean, he definitely gives the fans their money worth.
That's a fact. He does.
He's always interacting with the fans. I see him giving away shoes and jerseys and stuff all the time. That's something a lot of players don't do. So, I mean, I do give him that, man.
This is during the year when he led the NBA in assists, which I think was the 1967-68 season. I think it was. It was noticed by some people, coaches and players playing against him, that he would purposely pass out to guys who couldn't create their own shot because he knew it was more likely that he'd be credited with an assist. So it was things like this that both of these guys get noted for, okay, and criticized for. But the reason why I put Wilt ahead of LeBron is a couple of reasons. Number one, I just think that Wilt was a more dominant force. You have to really respect Wilt Chamberlain in this aspect. Prior to Wilt Chamberlain, the most dominant player at that time, before Wilt, was, most people will say George Mikan, and I guess that's true. I guess you could say George Mikan was the most dominant player before Wilt Chamberlain. He had years averaging 28 and 13, 27 and 14. But to me, the most dominant player before Wilt was Bob Pettit. I think he was a more skilled player than George Mikan. He was a better rebounder than George Mikan. His career averages are 26 and 16. He, at the time, in the 1957-58 season, 58-59 season, when he won his second scoring title, he set a then record for points and points per game, 2,102 points, and he averaged 29.2 points per game during that season. And at that time, you had never seen anyone fill it up quite like him. And then came Wilt Chamberlain the very next year, his rookie year. Now, he averaged 38 and 27.
Bro.
I mean,
that's damn near unbelievable. Bro.
Like, see, but that's what I be thinking, man.
That should be unbelievable.
See, this is why you can't tell me that he wasn't playing in a weaker era.
Personally, how I feel is you can't really compare the two because the eras are like totally different. I think this is a horrible even. You shouldn't even be talking about this shit.
For one, you're trying to compare a guard to a center.
Yeah.
So that throws it off there. So it's going to be hard to just make natural basketball comparisons.
Right.
Because obviously Wilt's field goal percentage is going to be higher. I mean, there's a lot of stuff he's going to dominate inside a little bit more. They play two completely different games.
Yeah.
I mean, Wilt was averaging damn near. There were some seasons where he was averaging 50 a game. So you talking about him kicking it out too much? Well, the man was always he couldn't have been kicking it out that much.
In some of the videos, you see him playing people that's like my height. He just going over and dunking on them.
But that's why I say this era. I mean, in his era, it was rare for him to have people of his size to compete against him. And when he did eventually begin to compete against people his size, he was still putting up his numbers, but his teams weren't winning.
Yeah.
Like when he played against the Boston Celtics, those teams were loaded enough, and they had enough size to dominate Wilt Chamberlain's teams. But we saw that. So, and then I also tell these guys too, stats don't always equate to wins.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you see guys with big stats, doesn't mean you're a good player. Like, and that's what's hurting some players today. So, you got some guys like Trae Young, like he's not gonna really be truly accepted as a great in the NBA
after a while.
Well, until he starts winning.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
This is why even good players like Bradley Beal are just considered all-stars. They're not. So he's not a superstar because he hasn't taken it to the next level as far as winning. This is why that's why one of the reasons why I say Ben Simmons is a more valuable player than a Bradley Beal. I would say that. You agree?
I would agree for one reason is because he does everything.
But what I'm saying is what player affects the wins more? Like Bradley Beal's putting up big numbers on a bad Wizards team. They're not winning. When as soon as Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were able to play on the same court together, they were a playoff team. Regardless of who else they were surrounded with, he came in and made an instant impact.
That's a fact.
And not just an instant impact on scoring, because a lot of people are going to be like, scoring. No, he started helping them win games. Yeah. The Wizards, even with John Wall, were struggling even getting to the playoffs.
Yeah, he's great defensively.
Right.
Offense, he needs some, he just needs a jumper.
But every player has a weakness. Like, I can look at Trae Young and I say, he would be great if he could play defense.
But my opinion, that's a strong weakness, though.
What's that?
Like, you can't shoot the ball.
I know, but the thing is, I feel like if you can't shoot the ball and you can still find a way to be in the All-Star game, like, that means you're making up for that by doing everything else. Like, shooting the ball in game is mental. You know that.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Shooting the ball in game, because all of these NBA players, if you take them into a regular random gym, and you just start hooping with them, they're gonna light your ass up.
Crazy,
I don't care who it is. It could be Kendrick Perkins. You take him in a regular gym, he's gonna be busting your ass. Yeah. Because again, it's different shooting.
It is, because when I'm playing at LA Fitness, I'm just on go. I play in the league game. It's like I gotta think now. Man. You know what I'm saying? I gotta think like.
But people don't understand that. Like all of these, like people like we're gonna use Draymond Green as an example. People say he can't shoot.
Right.
But I guarantee you, if you get in a gym with you and him, he's going to outshoot you. You know, it's different doing it in game.
We see videos with him in the gym shooting. He's knocking them down like he one of the Splash Brothers. So I definitely.
Yeah, but this is why you see trainers. Like I've seen trainers, they will play crowd noise that sounds just like an NBA game.
Yeah.
Like they try to do everything to mimic an NBA like surrounding or give you that NBA effect while you're shooting.
So now they learning to train your mind.
So you can train your mind. Because it's a mental thing. So Ben Simmons,
that's dope.
I've seen him before games shooting threes and hitting them.
Yep.
It's mental for him.
Yeah. It is.
And once he gets over that mental hump, he'll be fine. Like
Giannis, he was the same way. Mental.
But the thing is, when you talk about players and the only weakness, if you say they can't shoot, which that's a glaring weakness, and it's gonna stop you, it's gonna hinder your game. But if you still find a way not just to be an all-star, but to make your team competitive, like they could have easily been in the NBA Finals last year.
Yeah.
One bounced the wrong way. Yeah. One bounced the wrong way, and Kawhi don't make that shot.
Yeah.
They could be potentially going to the NBA Finals.
And they could have rings.
And they could have won the championship because the Warriors were depleted with injuries. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, that's why I don't like harping on that too much. Yeah. Let's get back to this, man.
I know we went off subject like a mother.
Man, it's crazy.
But those are some mind-boggling numbers. I mean, the average fan cannot wrap their minds around someone putting up numbers like that. And they actually had to change the rules. They had to change the lanes. They had to widen the lanes to make Wilt less dominant. He was rebounding everything.
That don't make sense. Hold on. Widening the lanes.
This ain't fucking NASCAR. What he talking about?
Yeah, but widening the lanes, how's that gonna make him less dominant?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? Hold on, let me think about it. I mean, more space. That's not gonna make him less dominant.
No.
If you
they ended up widening the lanes. It had something to do with free throws. I'll look it up for you, but it had nothing to do with Wilt Chamberlain. I don't think it had anything to do directly with Wilt Chamberlain's, because that's not how you stop someone's presence. You stop inside presence by what the NBA did with Shaq.
Right.
By making offensive 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That's how you affect somebody's interior dominance.
Yeah.
You start calling more offensive fouls. So when the bigs start turning their elbows and they're knocking little guys over, they're getting offensive fouls.
Let me just go on record. I hate how soft the fucking NBA is. No. I'm not gonna say all that. But I do understand to some point, but how they treat the big man, bro, I hate that.
But that's why I always tell them. I said, I applaud the big men of today who can still dominate inside and outside.
Yeah. Because
it's harder to play in the post now. It's harder not just because they're going against guys that are just as strong or just as tall, but because the rules are not in their favor.
You can't be one dimensional. So you can't be just a look. Jaleel Okafor.
Yep.
Great. Good player, but he can't do shit else.
But he's the worst defensive center in the league too, so he can't defend. So, but you talk about, but that's why you got to respect and be like. There was one guy in the chat. I don't know if it's debatable. There's one guy in the chat said that on Ticket TV. He said, I think Joel Embiid, if he played 1-on-1 against Wilt Chamberlain, he would destroy him. And I say that he has a strong case because they're forcing Joel Embiid to innovate his game. Now he has to play perimeter. He has to play high post. He has to be able to play low post. Yeah. He has to be able to play off pick and rolls. Did Wilt have all those skills?
Lateral kick quickness.
Was he playing? He was quick, but Wilt wasn't playing from the top of the key. Right. Wilt wasn't playing from the high post. All right, Wilt was playing strictly from the low post at the low block and just scoring that way. Just like they said, he would catch it on the low block. He would kick it out the guards and try to get extra assists. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I feel like Joel Embiid has more skills.
Yeah, he definitely has more skills.
Now, Wilt dominated more in his era, but Joel Embiid is a more skilled player. So when you're playing one-on-one, it's always going to come down to the more skilled player. That's where your skills really get exposed.
He was blocking everything. So the same way they had to change the rules for George Mikan to make it fairer, they changed the rules for Wilt Chamberlain to make him less dominant. But he just adjusted, and he still was a very dominant force. LeBron, as dominant as he has been, has never quite dominated the landscape the same way Wilt Chamberlain did. Now, people can say, Wilt didn't play against great competition at the center position. It depends on what you're saying. Like, look.
That's what they're saying.
You have to remember something. When Wilt Chamberlain was playing, okay, the average center was 6'10". Okay, the average center now is probably 6'9", 6'10". So the height advantage that people give Wilt is a little bit overblown.
Bro, I gotta tell you, I just read some shit. This is how you knew Wilt Chamberlain knew he was trash at free throws. This is how you knew Wilt Chamberlain knew he was trash at free throws. They said this man Wilt Chamberlain was so trash at free throws, and this is one of the reasons why they widened the lane lines. They said he was so trash at free throws, he would just dunk the ball from the free throw line to score a free throw.
What the fuck? Could
you
do that?
he made them implement the rule where as you shoot your free throw, you can't cross that line until the ball is released.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? So he's the one that he's the one that helped them implement that rule, because he said he would just get fouled and just dunk the ball. But that alone tells me right there that he knew again, shooting wasn't
his
strong suit. So again, that's another skill that he lacks, right? Especially if you're dunking the ball from the free throw line. That's crazy right there.
From the free throw line, though?
Wow.
Could
you imagine that?
And then, at the beginning of his career, you could say he didn't play against a lot of great.
Yeah, but the free throw line was shorter back then too, so it was easier for him to dunk. That's one of the reasons. So when they say widen the lane lines, they first widened the lane lines out because of George Mikan, but they pushed the free throw line back and then made the rule that you can't cross until you release because of Wilt, because Wilt would just dunk it from the free throw line. Because nowadays it's even hard for 7-footers now to dunk from the free throw line. Yeah, just standing still. So because it's too far, but it's too far back now. If you push it back up to where Wilt was,
Giannis probably doing it
then
easy.
Yeah, Giannis and all of them would be doing it easy.
There at the time, off the top of my head, I could think of Bill Russell, and then later Walt Bellamy, the first couple of years. But after the mid '60s, there was an influx of great big men that was playing toward the tail end of Wilt's career, and he played against them and excelled against them, even when his role was different. When he wasn't the number one scoring option, he still dominated those guys.
You trying to skip forward? I'm trying to hear what he got to say about LeBron.
Me too. That's what this whole shit is
about. This man giving us a goddamn history lesson on Wilt. Hold on, let's skip forward.
Because he ain't talking about LeBron no more.
Nah, he ain't talking about nothing. Hold on.
Same type of team. But this is another thing, too. Despite the fact that he was going up against Bill Russell, these series were surprisingly closer than you in the first one, but still. He got swept in the 2007 NBA Finals, and he got swept in the 2018 NBA Finals. You lost 4-1 in 2017, and I think he lost 4-1 in another Finals.
Was he talking
2014, I think. So LeBron has been very non-competitive in a lot of finals. I think his overall finals record is something like.
He wasn't swept out of that.
See, this man just So this is what. This is why it's hard for people to respect some of these arguments that they make, because this is what they do. Instead of complaining, like when I compare one player to another, who's better, I'm literally comparing each player's skill set. Like when I compare them in game, what did you do in the clutch versus what did you do in the clutch? What did you, scoring wise, how was your scoring? How did it affect winning? Did your scoring lead to wins, or did you just score a whole bunch of points and y'all was losing? Yeah. Defensively, were you just an interior defender, or were you able to guard all around the court? See, this is what you really got to start looking at when you're comparing players. That's what makes the Jordan-LeBron argument so fun, because you can actually critique actual skills. Yeah. See, right now, all 2RAW is doing, he's going back and saying, because he lost this game in XYZ game in ABC, and Wilt possibly won this game XYZ ABC, that makes him better. But that's not making a good case, because at the end of the day, LeBron's still a winning player. He's been to 9 NBA Finals? That's a lot
straight though.
That's a lot of winning.
A lot of wear and tear.
And then again, we will never see another player in NBA history to go to that many NBA Finals. Was it straight?
Yeah, straight.
Yeah, straight. I mean, so again, that's an accomplishment in and of itself right there.
This is his first playoff last year in how many seasons? How many years,
lot.
bro? That's what?
But see, that's what I say. The arguments here, I don't like the tit for tat game. He won. He lost this. He got swept here. I mean, sweeps happen, man. I mean, when you're dealing in the NBA, and LeBron's first couple years with the Cavs, he didn't have as much power as he did as far as getting players to play on that Cavs team. He had to deal with a terrible front office, bringing in a whole bunch of scrub players.
There was no way that team was going to beat the Spurs anyway. Let's just be real.
No, I'm not saying, but LeBron,
I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying.
He could have performed better.
He could have, but
in the finals, I give him that.
With that team, and we talking about the Spurs, bro. Young Spurs.
Yeah. Again, man,
This is just a shitty.
It's just a history lesson. This is a history lesson on Wilt Chamberlain. I don't need a history lesson on Wilt Chamberlain. I need to know why you think this. He said the only really comparisons you made was a bench press. That don't tell me nothing, man.
And how quick they were in the dominance.
Yeah.
I mean,
as I said, we didn't really learn anything, but you have to. You know, you really like when there's favoritism, like these guys. There's a lot of bias towards these other generations of play.
It is.
But this is why, especially with 2RAW, LB, and some of these guys, they're gonna try to find arguments to say that these players were better than LeBron or players of this era. Yeah. Like, would Wilt come into this era and dominate?
No. Especially the way it is now.
Yeah, no. But because he dominated then, they would say that he would easily be able to come in and dominate in this era the same. No, they would say he would dominate the same.
No.
And I would say the rules are different. The game is played different. The game is called different.
You gotta, you know what I'm saying?
So,
which he, is fast and quick.
Wilt play. They play. I'm not gonna take that away.
Defensively, he might have been, in this era.
But hold on. But defensively, he could potentially have been good. But that would be based on his team, because now, like I was breaking down to them, they was talking about Hakeem Olajuwon. I'll give you an example. He was great defensively in the 90s off ball. If you put him into this era in the 2000s, would he have the same impact on the interior defense? I don't know, because now we have a lot of centers who can shoot threes. So instead of Hakeem being off ball, he would now have to be pushed up on a big man that can shoot threes, and he can't help off in the middle as much. This is why the stretch big is so important. Because
I think he could. I personally think he could.
No, but he would have to pick his poison.
Exactly.
This is where Rudy Gobert, like if you think of Rudy Gobert, Rudy Gobert as a center gives up the most threes to his player. To whoever's guarding Rudy Gobert, whether it's a forward or center, he leads the league in giving up all of these threes. That's because he's so focused on helping off, playing the weak side defender. But when you're playing to get a good passing team, he's going to get burned because they're just kicking it out to his man.
Right.
Then he's having to go close out on the perimeter, something he can't do.
Yeah. And
he's either getting in foul trouble.
We definitely seen struggles with that in the playoffs.
And see, this is where you have to think a little bit more now. Now you have to pick your poison. You have to hope that your team has a good defensive scheme and system. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why Draymond Green is good on defense. It's not because Draymond Green is just this great defensive force by itself. No, he's in a great defensive system with the Warriors that they put him in a role where he can excel. They gave him X, Y, and Z jobs. He does those jobs, and because he does them better than anybody else, now he become the best defensive player on that team.
Right. And
they won championships that way. So I just don't. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to. You just got to do your homework on that shit, bro.
It's just, it's. I mean, the Wilt, like I say,
you still got to think about regular season basketball and playoff basketball is totally different as well too. So,
I just don't like comparing guards to centers.
Me personally, I look at dominance in a playoff setting. I don't look at dominance in the regular season, bro. I mean, we seen James Harden and all these other players. Like, where you at? So.
But yeah, these. I mean, again, until you start actually winning, it's going to be hard for us to give you credit. LeBron James he took 6 finals loss, but he's also won 3. I mean, winning 3 NBA championships is a lot more than most players will ever have in their whole career. And
I guess at least he had the experience, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
You got Carmelo, Chris Paul that haven't even seen a championship like setting, bro.
Yep, I haven't even been to a finals. But I mean, again, this is why those types of players, and this is one knock I have for Hakeem. If Jordan doesn't retire, if Jordan doesn't retire,
you going there?
If Jordan doesn't retire and Hakeem can't win those 2 championships, will he be considered a top 10 or top 15 player of all time?
But
Because again, the only thing that pushed Hakeem over the top were the back-to-back finals.
Yeah.
Aside from that, he was just a great player.
Yeah.
Right. He was a Karl Malone. he was a Charles Barkley, a great player in the 90s that couldn't overcome Jordan.
Jordan, yeah. That would have been good to see, though. But then, things is placed.
But what I'm saying is, imagine if Jordan would have just stayed and just won all them championships like we knew the Bulls would have done. Where is Hakeem? So winning championships actually matters. Getting to the finals actually matters. But also understanding the circumstances surrounding how you got your championships. Or, see, again, using that to critique Hakeem is not knocking his game, but it impacts where I place him on my all-time list.
Okay.
Right? So the same thing with Wilt. I'm not knocking what he did in his era, but how he accomplished everything he did in his era, the competition he played against, the lack of it, or maybe it was better than I'm thinking. Right. I have to take all that into consideration, and then I have to look at LeBron James. He's gotten to 9 NBA Finals. He's won 3 of them. I mean, you can say the 6 losses, but there's a lot of great players that can't even get to 1 NBA Finals, right? So, like you said, Melo and Chris Paul, just to name a few, they can't even get to the finals one time. So it's hard to get there, and then to win 3 of them and to do it for this long period of time. I think it's too hard to. I think LeBron's just done a little bit too much over his career to. I think he definitely passed Wilt. I mean, we can argue Kobe,
and he's not even retired. He's not even done yet.
No, and he's still going.
Yeah, so it's like,
and he's still going.
So. What?
And we probably won't see any major drop off for another at least 2 years.
2-3 years, maybe.
And I feel like the only thing that's really going to start making his numbers drop off, if it isn't age, then it's going to be some type of injury. The same with Kobe.
Yeah. Because
all these years of play, something's eventually going to break down. Hopefully it doesn't happen to LeBron, but
I feel old as shit.
So what's your final conclusion? Is LeBron over Wilt?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think LeBron's done enough to pass Wilt up. Wilt has the numbers, but
he's actually been done enough to pass. Wilt.
Yeah, he's done.
He's still playing, so we can come back to this once he retires.
Yeah, we're not going. The bench press don't have nothing to do with the greatness.
They ain't got
Please.
Nothing, bro.
Yeah, I don't care if he could have bench pressed 800 pounds.
I don't care if he bench pressed the house, bro. That still don't matter.
He just getting. I mean, it's just all fancy number things to say because it sounds good.
Right? Sounds good.
But it don't have nothing to do with the game of basketball.
Yeah. Look, you made our reaction video come to a debate.
That's what these dudes do now.
Oh my god.
All right, man. Hey, well, you got anything else to end this on?
Man, all love. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It's FYF, man.
All right, yeah. Make sure, man. Again, hit us up on social media, man. Instagram. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on our Facebook. We got a Facebook page, but most importantly, we got our Facebook group, NBA GOAT Talk. So NBA GOAT GOAT Talk. Make sure you join that group to stay updated on upcoming videos. That's where we're also going to be doing our live stream debates that are going to be broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. So again, we're trying to build up. We need at least 500 members there before we do our first live debate. So we're working to build our numbers up there. But again, make sure you just continue supporting us on social media. Send us all the information you can on topics you want us to talk about, and we'll try to get that information out to you. All right, man. That's about it. FYF Sports, y'all. We out.